You guys know that I have been fairly positive towards Days Gone, right? In general, I kind of like it. I've had a very complicated history with it, though. One of the reasons for that is because of how Days Gone is structured. Basically, Days Gone, it's extremely unbalanced. So a lot of games front load the best content, right? So they'll take the bits that are the best and then they'll shove that stuff right up in front, right? So you get to experience the best parts of the game early on because that's when most people are most likely to enjoy it, right? What Days Gone did was a little different. Days Gone took the best parts of the game and crammed it in the last like third of the game. And the best parts, what I'm referring to, are the hordes and the masses of zombies, or sorry, freakers, as they call them, that you can fight. So if you'll remember, Days Gone Sawmill trailer. Let me pull this up for you. This was a demo thing that they showed off in 2016. Do you guys remember this? These were the good old days. These are the good old days, man. So this was something they showed off when they first announced Days Gone. And it looked really cool at the time, and I think it still looks really cool. But this is what the game was sold on, was this idea that you could go into these encampments where there were masses of zombies. Sorry, freakers. And you would be able to fight them and take them down, barely surviving. And it starts out pretty mellow. You see all those? And we're going to fight all of those. We're going to take them all on. And then you get in this little fight with him, and then the horde starts chasing you. This is why people bought Days Gone, because they wanted this. They wanted what you're about to see. And let's just say that while this is in the game, you don't get to do this until, I would say, maybe 18, 20 hours into the game. And it's simply because you need decent equipment. You need napalm bombs. You need more Molotovs, grenades, things like that, the assault rifles, all of that to make this actually doable. I mean, because look at that. You're not fighting these guys with a bow and arrow. You know, you gotta have some serious gear to go with it. And because of how video games work, you're probably not starting with the really, really good stuff to begin with, right? You're probably starting with very, very little stuff. Then you have to work your way up. So this is what makes the game really shine and what I think separates it, because everything else it does, like, yeah, it's got the motorcycle stuff, which is good and kind of fun. You can customize that. And it's got a narrative that's not horrible. It's very predictable, but it's not the worst thing ever. It's got all this stuff going for it. But the main thing are these hordes that you can fight. However, you can't fight them until right towards the end of the game. I also forgot how bad this gun sounds. Hear that? Oh man, 2016, dude. 2016. It's weird. 7 years ago. It's wild. But when I first played Days Gone, you guys might remember that those OGs of you. Hold on, let me look up Luke Stevens Days Gone. Very average. Of course, that's the highlight. A little bit, I don't remember doing that, but a bit from Dr. Phil where I cut his face. I put this video up, and I then kind of, for lack of a better term, walked it back with this video. And these were just a few weeks apart. But basically the difference was that I played through the first half of the game here, and then I said, hey, the game is very average, and it's just not very good. I think my specific phrasing was that it didn't do anything well. I could have just read the title, but it didn't do anything well. Everything it did was done better in other games by other franchises and other developers. It just wasn't very good. And then once I finished the game, I came out with a video saying I was wrong. I made a video critiquing this game saying it was bad, and I hadn't actually finished the game yet. And you know what? I was wrong. And I think the game is actually pretty good. It has a lot of issues. And while I still would insist that, like, hopefully the game could present itself in a better way, or at least you could know what the game had to offer within the first half, it still, I think, is worth playing if you can get through that first half. A lot of people point to like this little thing where I went from, hey, this thing kind of sucks, to actually, I kind of like it now that I finished it. People point to this all the time and say that I flip-flop my opinions on games all the time. I would like to think that I just change my mind when something is different and when I have new information. But who knows? Maybe I'm just a sucker. However, yeah, if I didn't, wouldn't that be more upsetting? Right? Like if I was somebody who came in here and just refused to acknowledge that the game's actually pretty good in the last half, because like, well, I already said that it was very average, so I can't take that back. Yeah, it is called, yeah, I guess technically flip-flopping. But I think flip-flopping is like a more active thing. It's a process that you're actively engaged in. But anyway. So this is kind of my roller coaster ride with Days Gone, is starting out very, very negative and ending up generally positive. However, I do think that there still are some things to be said about Days Gone. It's fine. We still love you. I appreciate that. It's kind of pixelated. Chat's still kind of pixelated. There we go. Did you ever do a full critique on Days Gone? Yes. That's what this is here. I don't remember much of it. It's 3 years ago. I mean, it was a minute ago. Where is it? Where to begin? What is this world? Just a coincidence? Cuts. Gameplay pacing, the tech problems. Does it even matter? The tech problems. Do you want to hear? I'm guessing my audio is going to be very tinny because I thought that to make your audio sound good, you needed to go in and like boost the treble. Which is, of course, the technical issues. Yeah. Now let's just dive right in. To it. Sony Bend is around 100 people, at least as of the time of the writing of this script. This makes them roughly comparable to Bethesda Game Studios as of around 2011, or in other words, the time when Skyrim came out. But don't worry, the comparison will end there. Now, I first noticed how small this team was and everybody that was contracted and responsible for Days Gone when I was reading through the credits, and oh, look at that. Daniel Radcliffe helped on this game. Oh. Wish he could have used some magic on it. Now, to me, it seems as though the I'm so funny. Team is too small to make. I forgot that somebody named Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah, maybe that guy that actually worked on this game is like, but that is my actual name. He's been hearing this his whole life. And he's like, God damn it. Even in video games, they don't let me live that down. A game of this scope without serious QA shortcomings. This, of course, will take multiple forms. Now, as I stated earlier, these technical issues are on a spectrum. So I broke all of these into How progressive of me. 3 broad categories based on their ability to pull you out of the game, fundamentally breaking the gameplay experience. Awesome, Luke. I'm glad you liked it. And thanks for popping back. That's cool. The first level is fair, which means that you'll notice it, but it doesn't require you to change the way that you're playing or absorbing the game's content. It's just a little jarring. The second level is moderate. These will affect your gameplay. And the third level is game breaking. These are things that I would consider gameplay session ruiners, things that will pull you. I was like, I swear to God, if I say these are things that I consider game breaking. I don't know, it's kind of fun to go back to these older videos. I haven't watched a video like this that I made a long time ago. I don't watch my own videos. So like, this is kind of weird to hear because I don't remember the arguments I'm about to make. I don't remember the examples I'm about to make. This is just really strange to me that don't even sound like you. I think my voice changed a little. My balls dropped. But I think also what it is that I used to use a different microphone that sounds a little different. And I also tried to really talk in very like exaggerated ways where my voice sat a little higher. I don't know. You completely out of the game, remove any immersion that you may have had, and potentially even ruin the chapter of the game that you're in. Now, of course, all of these are somewhat subjective, but I'm just going to show you all of them regardless, and you can make up your own mind. Now, bear with me as I break down all of these issues that I encountered. You may think that this is unnecessary and excessive, but trust me, some people are in denial as to how broken this game can be. Even after I do this, people will still be in the comments claiming that the technical issues aren't that bad or are non-existent entirely. Starting from moderate and moving on to severe. This happened all throughout the game, but in this moment you can see that there's some weird ghosting on other bikers' tires. Again, not very important, doesn't pull you out of the game too much, it's just kind of weird. Yeah, I do remember that. In this moment, there's a weird throne glitch where we get thrown from the bike, and after it resets, Boozer didn't actually respawn on the back of the bike, even though for the quest, he's supposed to be on it. And once we arrived at the gate, he hops off the back of the bike as if he were on it the whole time. It's just weird. This one's really small. Well, that's weird. Simply, he lays down on the bed the wrong way. Kind of stupid, but still there. This one, I'm not really sure what's happening. Here you can see a girl flying into the sky. I don't know what happens here. This one's funny. It's a dead body frozen in a running pose. Now for a few moderate glitches. You can see in this one, I actually rode past the checkpoint because I fell off of this cliff. And I actually had to turn back around and ride back through that section in order to get the cutscene to play, even though I immediately turn around and drive right through the same area that I just reached. It's weird. It's just a matter of no contingency being established. I had to go through this very particular area and window in order to trigger the cutscene. Small, but it does pull you out of it. And yeah, I probably wouldn't call that a bug or a glitch. I would just say that that's a poor level design. The fact that I can get through that in a different way that doesn't trigger the cutscene, I wouldn't really call that. Look at the Spider-Man teaser that came out. Oh, I can do that. In this moment, this machete drops all the way through the map and just disappears. Here, there's a bear out of it. In this moment, this machete drops all the way to trigger the cutscene. Small, but it does pull you out of it. Where's the machete? Oh, it's on the ground right next to him. Okay, on the bottom by his like shin. This machete drops all the way through the map and just disappears. Here, there's a bear walking that just despawns. In this moment, there's a ton of major pop-in during this cutscene. I remember that. On the PS4, the texture pop-in was bad, man. It was bad. In this moment, there's a... Look at that. He's using that new, Neutrogena face wash. It just blurs everything. A ton of major pop-in during this cutscene. In this narrative sequence, we're walking in a midnight stroll that they keep referencing the fact that it's midnight, even though it looks like noon with clouds. Again, it's small. Yeah, I wouldn't call this a technical problem or a glitch. I would just say that this is just night in Days Gone just doesn't look very good. So in general, I would just say that these are all kind of sloppy. Like a couple of these examples are a little sloppy. I wouldn't do this the same way nowadays. But it did pull me out of the cutscene, and I misheard what she was saying multiple times because it was so clearly not night. I don't know what's going on here. Other night sections in the game when you're running through the open world feel as though it's actual nighttime. Here, it just doesn't. In this section, you can see that there's a massive frozen texture in the camp where you can't actually tell. I think it's supposed to be a puddle, but it doesn't render properly, and it doesn't go to the high-res version, so it's just a weird blocky strip. It's really, really weird. Where the road is or what's going on. It eventually fixed itself, but it was very jarring when it happened. Some more low-res textures, and for some severe ones, we can see here, I can't actually get on my bike to continue this quest. I remember that. I thought I was going crazy here, but the prompts to actually interact with your bike don't appear, so you can't actually get on it. I ran all over the place. I tried running away from it, not looking at it so that it would despawn and then respawn. I tried going in to inside the building and collecting other things, but all of the interaction buttons are just gone. You can't interact with anything. I even tried killing myself, restarting the previous checkpoint of the quest, and that didn't even work. It was still broken. I actually had to go and fully restart the game in order to fix this. I haven't seen anyone else who ran into this glitch, but if you did, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd like to see how common this was. Oh, dude, I miss those PS4 themes. I will say, I believe it was that one. I did have somebody say and accuse me of using hacks to break the game to make it look worse than it actually was. They're like, you're just looking for hate clicks. You faked this. It's like, let me get this straight. You think that I am hacking into games on my PS4. I'm jailbreaking my PS4, breaking into games to make them run worse so that I have stuff to talk about in a critique? What? I don't understand. Here you can see a crap ton of frame drops. This is something that happens all throughout the game and is very, very frustrating. Here we have two sets of audio overlapping at the same time. Oh yeah, they were talking to each other at the same time. It's really weird. Another major frame drop and freeze. More frame drops. Yeah. This is how I remember the game running at for the first couple days of launch. This glitch I don't actually have footage of because it was from my first playthrough, but at this moment when Sarah handed Deacon the "I never stopped loving you" note, this texture wasn't actually fully loaded in, so it just looked like 3 or 4 pixels that were incredibly blurry, so I couldn't actually read it. I completely missed this narrative moment because the tech wasn't keeping up with the cutscene. I do remember that. I picked up it's this cute moment. Sarah gives a note where she writes on it, "I never stopped loving you." And the player reads it with Deacon so that you both realize at the same time she still loves you. but it was so blurry. It was like looking at a blank piece of paper, and then he looks off, and then the game just continues. I was like, what was that? That seemed important.
However, thankfully, in my second run when I got this clip, it actually loaded properly. In this section, I was taking on the Sawmill Horde. I had taken down pretty much everybody, and I couldn't figure out where the rest of the Horde was. There were still some people that I needed to take out. I just couldn't find them anywhere. Eventually, I realized that part of the Horde had actually fallen down into the water, and they couldn't get back up, so they were just clipped into this weird area. Luckily, I was able to take him out from the perch on the top of the cliff, but it did require me to run around for around 5 minutes, feeling like I was taking crazy pills before I found them. But to hammer all of this home, I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that I wasn't out searching for glitches and that I was simply noting down the things that were happening to me while I was playing through the game. And so my roommate Michael, who was also playing through Days Gone around the same time that I was, volunteered to collect some of the glitches that he encountered during his run on his PS4 Pro while playing through the game. Now, obviously, he doesn't record every second of his runs of a game because he's not a YouTuber, but I did show him how to use the PlayStation sharing feature in order to recapture moments that just happened to you while you played. So he collected the following series of glitches. This first one is actually kind of funny. The hostage is actually shot because Michael ran towards him with a baseball bat, but the animation doesn't stop. So
still there.
She's just been shot in the head, but still acts like somebody's holding her up. It's just weird. In this one, there's just a bird floating in place, flying. I don't know what's happening here. It's like its animation is playing, but it's stuck in the same spot. I don't know. In this one, Michael actually fell off of a cliff and the bike actually goes bouncing like a bouncy ball into the lake. And at this point, it clips through the map and goes all the way down into the abyss, and so the only way to retrieve it is to go back to the mechanic and have the mechanics retrieve it, which, needless to say, pulls you right out of whatever you were trying to do because the game happened to treat the bike like it was a bouncy ball and send it flying. This one's really weird. Basically, Michael was driving around a snowy area and then fast traveled to a non-snowy area, but the snow effect underneath the bike still is in effect.
Isn't that weird?
Just looks like he has a smoke machine under the bike. It's not that important, but it still is a little weird. And this is the most serious one that he sent me, where an enemy actually clipped into the ceiling of a building. And initially I thought exactly what Michael thought, which is that the character was simply in a room upstairs and he just needed to find the stairs into that room. But no, he circled the entire building, went on the roof, everything, and couldn't figure out where this guy was until he realized that he was clipped into the ceiling of the building. And there was no way of getting him. You couldn't shoot him. You couldn't do anything to him. Even explosives didn't work. The only way to fix this was to reload the mission, at which point this character spawned on the roof of the building where he was supposed to. Now, I wish I could say that this was an exhaustive list of everything bad that happened to me and Michael during our runs of the game, but unfortunately...
Yeah, it's just funny. Like, there's so many problems. But some people have a very high tolerance for this stuff. Some people are totally fine with reloading and it doesn't pull them out. They don't care. For me, it bugs me. Like it pulls me out of it hardcore. And so this type of thing I consider to be a major issue, while others, I'll admit, just don't seem to really care. Now, Mister, I'm glad you brought that up. So people ask me all the time, why did I pick this as my game of the year for 2019? Well, here's the deal. For me, game of the year is kind of a tricky thing because on the one hand, it can often be a toss up between like 2 or 3 really amazing games and you're just picking like your favorite, but you also want to consider like what was the most risk taking, what was the most surprising, what was the most fun, which one did I just lose myself to? Like for Elden Ring, I spent hundreds, probably 200-300 hours playing through Elden Ring for like within the first few months of launch. I love that game and I've played so much of Elden Ring. That being said, like also God of War Ragnarok is an amazing title. It's also like very polished, very well refined, but it's a little shorter. I think it's got, a couple of frustrations here and there. The compass is still totally broken, things like that, but it's still really, really good. And you can consider Elden Ring really good. Also had its own fair share of issues at launch, major issues on the PC port, stuff like that. So no game is perfect, But a lot of people might pick their game of the year based on their favorite game. They might pick it off of which game was the most surprising, most exciting, which game did they have the most hours in, that type of thing. For me, in 2019, let's just pull up what 2019 had to offer. 2019 games. So 2019 was the year of Sekiro, Control, Outer Worlds, Resident Evil 2, Death Stranding, Apex, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Jedi Fallen Order, Devil May Cry 5, Disco Elysium, Outer Wilds, Kingdom Hearts 3. I remember people being so excited for that, and then it just kind of sucked. Everybody stopped talking about it like immediately. And of course, Days Gone as well. Now, for me, considering like which of these is going to be my favorite and my game of the year, at the time, I was still in college, so I did not play every game that came out. I hadn't played, I don't think, The Outer Wilds yet. Disco Elysium, I had tried for a few minutes. I don't think I had finished it yet. Fire Emblem Three Houses, I wouldn't try for another like year and a half. Fallen Order, I had a ton of technical issues. I did a standalone video on that. It was pretty broken for me. So I just didn't feel like awarding that. And it was also super short, ended out of nowhere. Like I had my own set of problems with it. I think it lays a great foundation, but I wouldn't consider it like one of the most exciting games of the year. Apex Legends, great. At the time, I wasn't really into that type of game though I did try it. Outer Worlds, thought it was good, not great, like fine. Control, I just haven't really gotten hooked into it, so that was that. So for me, like the main consideration for game of the year was basically Death Stranding or Sekiro. Like to me, these were the two front runners that I was mainly considering. Death Stranding had so many issues and was so overly bloated, I didn't feel like I could give it to that. And Sekiro, while really, really good and unique, I suck at rhythmic games, and I found it far more difficult and less satisfying than previous From Software games. So I was like, I don't know who to give it to. Oh yeah, Spider-Man was also 20. Do they not have it listed here? Or am I looking right at it? September 2018. No, 2018. So it wasn't even this year. So I was trying to figure out what to give it to, and I decided to give Game of the Year to the game, ironically enough, that I decided had the most potential as a game. Basically, the game I wanted more of. And for me, I thought Death Stranding was fine. It had its set of problems. Sekiro, I was like, yeah, I'm good. But Days Gone was a game that I really wanted to see what a sequel would look like. I was like, if they can get this formula sorted, they can get it polished and refined, go bigger, badder, and ignore the problems from the first half of the game, then we're going to be set. And then, of course, they announced that they're not doing a sequel. I really know how to pick them. But I would agree it was kind of a hot take, or a weird take at the very least, to give Days Gone Game of the Year. More than anything, it's just that I didn't want to give it to anything else. So it was kind of the last man standing as a game that I enjoyed at the end of the day, but that I still thought had a ton of issues. But it was more because I thought 2019 was a really weird year for gaming. If I were redoing it today and picking which of these games I would think deserves Game of the Year for 2019, like if I were redoing the list, having played more of these, I probably would have given it to Disco Elysium. Because I've actually finished this now, and it's very good. While very niche, it's very, very good. So that's what I would say. But at the time, college Luke decided to give it to this little fellow, or not this little fellow, Days Gone, instead of Death Stranding. I decided to give it to Days Gone. So I don't know. Days Gone is a weird game. It's a weird game because I think while it runs really well on PC now, and on PlayStation 5 it runs at 60 frames really solidly, and I think it's worth playing, it still has the fundamental design issues where the first half is really, really bland, and then the second half is actually really fun and engaging. It's just kind of tricky to get there. So that's kind of my thought process with Days Gone. I think a sequel could have really refined it down into something great, but it doesn't look like we're going to see that, at least not anytime soon. Sony Bend is working on something else. We don't know. It looks like it's a new franchise or a new IP. So we're going to have to see what they're working on. But as of right now, it's all very hush-hush, and there's no word on what they're doing. So we're just going to have to wait and see. 2019 seems so long ago now. Yeah, for real. It does. I mean, it's going on 4 years old. That's a little wacky.
He took my thing.